Hi all, this is Morgan from Madeira, USA here. We're here with Nancy Minnie, our lovely embroidery expert here at headquarters in part one of a 4-part series we're working on regarding specific garment and fabric types. So today she's going to touch on performance wear. Those are those slippery, stretchy fabrics you see for yoga, volleyball, golf attire, and they're becoming more popular around the office and in more casual settings. So it's out there, and if you haven't worked with it already, you're bound to in the near future. We love the idea with staying connected with you, so jump in now, tell us about your experience working with performance wear. Give us a thumbs up, let us know you're watching live, and of course, comment with any questions you have about the products that lovely Nancy will be mentioning today. So, with all that being said, Nancy, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Morgan. So like Morgan said, we are going to talk about performance wear. And I've got all the products here that I'm going to use today, and I'll explain them all. We're going to add a link right after the live presentation here today that will give you a link over to a webinar, on a past webinar, that is simply all about performance wear. So what I'm going to cover here in 10 to 15 minutes is covered by professionals within this webinar. So keep an eye out for that link and we'll get going here. So I have a shirt here, a nice dark, navy dark shirt that's performance wear. So this is that thin, slippery fabric that is challenging to hoop. It's lightweight itself. So you want to keep everything lightweight when you think about the design, the digitizing, when you're hooping it, the type of thread you're going to use, the type of needle you're going to use is all light or small, and I'll explain that as we go along here. So I'm going to start with this shirt here, and it's a nice polo, nice quality polo that we have here, and it's got the buttons on the front, which is great because you can use that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a placement line, because I don't want to put it sideways. I don't want to put it, certainly not on the right chest, because it's not called the right chest logo. It's called the left chest logo. So I'm going to put it over here. I have this handy tool here. I use it on a regular basis. It's simply just a square, and it's plastic. It's got the inches on it, so you can kind of do some measuring.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd come in handy.
Very handy. We'll look into maybe carrying something like this. Currently, we don't have anything. So when it comes to the placket, that's a nice straight line that you can work off of and get your placement. I'm going to put the collar up a little bit here. And notice when I put this side on here, I'm going to put it straight, and I have a nice straight line here. When I put the placement for a simple logo, like a Madeira logo up there, nice small logo, so I don't have a 30,000 stitch design, I have a 1,600 stitch design. That's on the smaller side. You can go up easily to 10 and 20,000 stitch designs on this material. But you really do got to take the digitizing into account. Underlay is very important when it comes to this type of a fabric, because it provides a nice foundation in order to put your, whether it's satin stitches or your fill stitches, and you can put, it's going to hold up better with a little additional underlay. And this is just a real quick synopsis of the digitizing part that you will see in the webinar once we get it there. So I'm going to kind of align it in between the second and the third button here. So I've got my line here, I've got it straight, and I'm looking here, and I kind of bring it in a little bit, and I want to find the center mark, which is right around 3.25 inches. So I'm going to mark this as my center spot. That's where I want to put the Madeira logo right here. And I take it back. I'm going to spread it out a little bit. I'm going to put it over here.
And that's okay, because that white pencil just washes right off. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep. This is just a regular fabric marker. It's white, and it'll brush off. You can use a little water if you need to. It'll certainly disappear in the first wash. Now I'm going to put a straight line here. And I know that's straight because I have this aligned up with my placket. And this is a nice square. And nice and light. You don't have to do it dark.
Perfect.
So now I've got my placement. And I know I don't want that first one, I want the second one, and that's where my Madeira logo is going to end up on this shirt. And that's the plan. So I've done my placement, and we can talk a little bit about the backing options. When it comes to performance wear, you want to think light. So there's some really nice backings out there. This is a dark navy shirt, so it is available in white and black in both of these. So you've got your weblon. That has a nice embossed look to it.
Would you mind just holding that up, Nancy, so I can see it so we can see the embossed? Yeah.
There you
cool.
go.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And so that's black. You got your white. You got your beige in that one. This is the performance wear. This weblon's been around for quite a while. Performance wear is fairly new to the industry. And these are woven backings, which is very unusual when it comes to backing stabilizers for the embroidery industry, because they give so much or great support when it comes to the performance wear. These have been widely accepted and used, very professionally looking when it comes to the performance wear. So like I said, these are woven, and what that means, these are non-woven, so there's no threads in there. It's all created similar to paper and how it's all bonded together. This one actually has threads going this way and threads going this way.
I see them.
And it interweaves much like a basket, which is why it's called a woven fabric instead of a non-woven. I don't know, which one's easier to see, Morgan, the white or the black?
I think the black is, I mean, you can see the white too with the dark behind it, but that looks great. I think you can really see the woven effect there.
Great. So because it's woven, when you pull on the corners, or what else is called the bias, you see it kind of stretches. When you pull side to side, it resists my tugging and my pulling. So that in and itself gives it some great support. If I'm going to use two pieces, which I am going to use today, I'm going to put one piece down flat, and then I'm going to put the other one, just one piece. Yep, that's just one. I'm going to put it at an angle like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me double the support with two pieces. We've got a design here, it's only 1,600 stitches. It's not really necessary to use two pieces for that many stitches. When you get up to over 10,000 stitches, that's when you want to consider using two pieces. And I'm going to show you two pieces today because I want to show you how that actually works. So remember how I pulled that one on the corners. So now I'm pulling this one on the corners. I can't pull it this way. So imagine all the stability that that product's going to give you when you're using the two pieces. So let's talk about designs a little bit. When we talk about stitch count, we all know every design that's out there has a stitch count. This one's a little over 1,600. There's designs out there up to 30,000 stitches, you know, thinking about a corporate logo. And when it gets over, say, 20,000 stitches, depending on how much heavy density or satin stitches and how tight the density is, that puts so much pressure on this fabric, and the fabric simply can't take it. So once you get over 25, 30,000 stitches, and your customer wants to put it on this fabric, maybe you want to consider a badge instead of putting all those stitches on there. So that's an option.
That's a good point, Nancy, using an alternative when you need to.
Right, yep. Because you really do need to know what the fabric's limitations are. Every fabric has limitations. If it's a denim jacket, you can pretty much cover that denim jacket with designs stitched out on it, and it's going to support it. But then when you think about this fabric, it's super stretchy, it's thin, it's made to drape really nice as you're wearing it, and it looks really beautiful. Whereas you got to put, 50,000 stitches on it, it's going to feel like a badge in and of itself. I have one more backing over here I want to point out, and that's a lightweight tearaway backing. And that is just a basic, I'll put it on top of the black so you can see it a little nicer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a simple basic tearaway. It's lightweight. You could go up to a 1.5 ounce. That's not too heavy. I particularly like the lightweight because this is not going to add any stability throughout the life of the garment. It's going to help me hoop it because it grabs the hoop a little more. And it's also going to help keep the fabric a little stiffer as I'm embroidering on it. So what I do with this guy is I put it on the very bottom. Then I put one of those there. And then the second Easy Cut Performance goes on the top on an angle. And I know from experience with embroidering this type of a shirt, I like to use a little bit of spray adhesive to hold it together. And I've got two of them here. Notice we have the 1000. We also have the 1100. The difference between these two is this guy has a lot more tack to it. And I consider that great if you're doing caps and say you want to spray the foam so it'll hold on to the cap as you're embroidering it. That works really great for that. This has a really light tack, and I like to use this for the performance wear because it doesn't add a lot of residue. The residue goes away, it dries out, goes away for the most part. This one just goes away a little quicker. And I'm going to take that cap right off. And you never want to spray a spray adhesive on the garment itself. You'll always want to spray it on the backing. And why is that? That's because you don't want to take a chance that the residue may not come off there. Chances are it's going to wash off, so it'll be fine. But you're better off just simply putting it on the backing.
Before you spray those together, Nancy, we just have a couple questions here. I know you went over it before regarding the angling of the performance wear on top of each other. And I was just wondering if you could show the bias stretch again so the people who are joining us now can see why we're doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. So I'm just going to put my tearaway to the side here. We have non-woven backings, meaning they're made similar to papers where they're just a bunch of fiber put together and there's a binder that holds it all together. It's all flattened out and it's created in a way that's non-woven or non-knit. Like your typical fabrics are either knit or woven. That's considered a non-woven. So when you put those at an angle to each other, it doesn't add any more stability because there's no stretch whether you pull that way, or that way. With a woven fabric like this, the threads go this way, and they intertwine just like a basket. If I were to pull in the corners, I get stretch. If I pull side to side, no stretch. And when you think about the construction, that makes sense why it does that. If I take two of these, once I stretch something like that, I don't like to use it, so I'm just going to put it to the side. So now I've got threads going this way on the top piece. On the bottom, I got them going this way. So I have a lot of angles with those threads. Now when I pull on the corners,
no stretch.
No stretch.
Perfect.
So that's why we do that.
I hope that answered you guys' questions.
Thank you. All right, so I just have a cardboard box here because you really do need to be careful with your spray adhesives. You don't want to just be spraying them anywhere. The stickiness gets on the table, so you don't want that. And you certainly don't want to be spraying it over where your machine is because you don't want that stuff getting up in there. So tearaway always goes on the bottom. That's so that you can tear it away and it's not hidden. So I'm going to put that on the bottom.
I'm just going to watch you do this.
All right. Yeah. Just going to spray that up just a little bit. And I'll lay the first piece right on top. Best I can. Hold it a little bit. I'll press on it, I should say. Put another layer of adhesive. Kind of see it on there. And that one's a little bent, so I'm just going to grab another one. Now I put that at the angle. It doesn't have to be exact, just an idea. Close enough to it. Perfect. So I'm going to pick those up, put them up here. So I want to flatten those out a little bit. When you're embroidering and you're using spray adhesive, you always want a little bit of time, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes to kind of pass between when you spray and when you embroider. That gives it enough time to dry. And it's not going to gum up your needles when you do that. All right, so we've got our backing. I'm going to just set this over here because I know I want to use that, but I want to talk about hoops. Because when it comes to hoops, not only do we want to hoop it lightly, we want to use the smallest hoop possible for design. The design that I'm embroidering is just a little over 3 inches wide. I've got a 4.5, a little over 4.5, a little over 7 inches, and almost 6 inches. So this one's twice as big as it needs to be. This one's way more than that. So the smallest guy wins. And the reason why you do that is because you have less area around the design, so there's less chance of that fabric to be sliding around. Notice I didn't put any spray adhesive on the top piece because I don't really want any on the garment. I prefer keeping it clean. And if you can do that, that's better. So I'm not going to use those, guys. The other thing, so what else do we have that's light? When you think of thread, there is 6-weight threads out there that you can use. And the 6-weight threads are thinner. You can use those for fine details, small lettering, which certainly comes into play when it comes to corporate logos. Rayon likes to lay a little softer, and it lays in a design a little nicer. When it comes to needles, you would typically, you're either using a 70-10 or a 75-11 needle. And if you think about those smaller needles, they go up by half a size. So if you're using a 70-10, consider using a 65-9 needle. If you're using a 75-11, consider using a 70-10. Why would you want to do that? Well, it gives a smaller penetration hole, and it can make all the difference in how the design looks. Those are, I think I kind of covered all the things you want to keep light. And so let's get this guy embroidered. Hooped. We'll get her hoop first.
We have a couple people joining us. We just want to do a shout out here. Hi Frank, hi Patty, Talia, Chrissy, Bill. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Keep your questions coming. I would love to hear them. So these hoops that we have here have these nice lines, and they line up with each other. And that's also going to help me line up that white line there. I'm going to get my bottom hoop up underneath there. So I got a nice flat table. We're going to use Easy Aqua Supreme, which is a water-soluble topping. I have a piece right here, so I won't forget. Not sure if we can see this, Morgan, but that's a textured. It's called a piqué, but this is a real light piqué, which has like little bumps, and putting the aqua on top will help hold the thread on top of those bumps. And we'll make the design. Whoops, we got our speaker there. Sorry if I made some rough noises. Well, let's go ahead and get this hooped. So
now, performance wear is known for being a little bit difficult to hoop. Do you have any tips or tricks?
Yes, absolutely. That tearaway on the bottom plays a real big part of the hooping process. When you feel the backings that we have, whether it's the Weblon no-show or the performance wear, they're very thin and they're a little bit slippery in and of themselves. So they're great for this type of a fabric because they're nice and thin. But by putting that tearaway on the bottom, that tearaway is actually going to grab the hoop as I push down on this one. So that's up underneath there on the bottom hoop, and it's going to help grab it.
Awesome. Create a little bit of friction then.
You got it. Yep. So it doesn't like start slipping away. So what I'm doing now is I have my line, so I am attempting to get my hoop kind of in the middle there as best I can. I have a little bit of play because it is a 3-inch design, and I've got about, a little over 4.5 inches. So I try to get that in there the best I can.
I'm just going to hover over you a little bit.
Go right ahead, Morgan. See what we can do there. So I've got that kind of in the middle there. No, I went too far. There we go. Getting a little closer. Okay. So I'm just feeling my backing. Feels like I'm on there really good because you don't want your backing kind of half in your design. You want it outside of the hoop completely. So now I talked about those lines that are on here. I'm going to use my ruler again, and I'm going to spread it across straight from line to line.
Oh, what a
and
fun
I want to
trick.
Look. And then so I can adjust it so it lines up a little better. And this ensures that my Madeira is going to go straight across my left chest and not down an angle or up an angle.
Perfect.
Because we don't want that. All right, so let me just get this hooped here. The other trick you have with hooping is I always put my bottom part in first of my hoop. So I've got that in, kind of holding a little bit of pressure. I want to pull. But this is a real slippery, stretchy fabric. So you're only pulling gently so that there's no ripples inside the hoop. Once I have that, I'm holding a little pressure on it, and I push in. And that, my dear, is a gorgeous hoop, if I do say
Great
myself.
job, Nancy.
Thank you. One of my biggest fears when you're on camera and trying to hoop is not being able to do it. So one time is awesome. So I just have a piece that I pre-cut of my Easy Aqua Supreme, and I don't hoop this with the fabric. Some people do. Some people are professional hoopers, and they do it right every time. Since I don't do production, I don't hoop all the time. So what I like to do is I put it on top, and I just put a little bit of tape to hold it where it needs to be. And the reason why I don't hoop it is I can't see the fabric underneath the topping. So I don't know if there's extra like bubbles going on down there. So just a tiny bit of tape on 4 sides. Just gonna hold it nice and still. And I use just a basic like office tape, nothing too sticky because you want it to be able to come off.
Yeah, it'll come right up.
Not right now, it's not going to come off, but it will. There we go. If you only put it on one side, you know, that first needle penetration can just pick it right up. So you want to have it kind of flat as you can.
Perfect. Looks great, Nancy.
Thanks, Morgan. All right, so we are going to put this in the machine. We're going to get it going. Won't take too long to do 1,600 stitches.
Tell us again how many stitches you would recommend on a performance wear piece.
Sure. Yes. I boasted a little too much because I actually put it on upside down. However, I can go to my design and I'm going to flip it around.
It's because we're here on camera.
That's right. All right. The right one. That did it. So what was the question again, Morgan?
How many stitches would you recommend for performance wear? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but like I said.
So I consider a 22,000 stitch design adequate when it comes to performance wear. But do keep in mind that designs are relative into how they're digitized, meaning if you have a 1-inch square that's all fill, that's a lot of stitches. If you have a 1-inch square that's kind of open and airy, maybe satin stitches, there's a lot less. So the more open the design is, the more stitches you could put on the fabric. So hopefully that helps. When you get up to, 25, 30,000 stitches, you really have to have a digitizer that knows what they're doing to take the fabric into account.
And then you also mentioned the use of maybe a badge film to create a larger logo to put on these leg fabrics.
Yes. So we have a couple of things. We have badge film, we have our multifunctional frame system, and these are all ways that you can make a badge in and of itself. So you embroider the badge on the fabric, whether it's mostly plastic. So you create the badge all out of thread, and then you can either apply it to the garment afterwards. That's very popular for denims and things like that, but you can also do it on your performance wear. And there's also ways where you can attach the badge itself with stitches as well, without putting all those stitches on it. That's another webinar that we have out there. So if you look at the keeping badge business in your business, you'll see a lot more about that as well. We can include that link as well.
Perfect. That was Chrissy who asked that, so I'll make sure I send that information over to you, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy. All right, so now I'm at the point where I need to trace the design. You always want to trace your design. Make sure you're not going to hit the hoop. I think we've all hit the hoop. I certainly have. And it's a little scary, so I don't like to do that. So that looked great. So I've got the design flipped around. I put my shirt up in here. I'm going to put my hands up underneath here and make sure that I don't have any material trapped up there. I've certainly sewn a left chest to maybe the back shoulder before because I got that fabric up underneath there. So always just take a feel under there and make sure there's nothing there. Let's see what we're set up for speed. 700, that's great. I got it at 700 because we want to keep it nice and quiet for you. Once you get a little louder, it's hard to hear. So here we go. So earlier today, I embroidered this shirt here. in. This is a nice bright blue, same exact fabric, same exact design with white. So we have a nice contrast on this one. As you're going to see with this one, I'm using a really dark blue on it. So that's a real nice tone on the front of it. And say you're going out to dinner with your clients or something like that, I think it's a little more classy if you do something like that. Whereas maybe you want your design, your logo to stick out. So this one's already done. Unscrew it. Great so far. We got a little bit of a burn there, but we can get rid of that with some steam. I've got my tearaway on the bottom, so I can just simply tear that away. And now, because this is a cutaway, I need to cut it away. Notice I'm holding the backing, not the garment, as I trim it away. The reason why you want to do that is you want to make sure that you see the garment as you're cutting it. That avoids cutting the fabric, and we don't want to do that. So, with this guy, I like to do probably about a 1/4 of an inch around the edge, more than enough. This is a woven stabilizer, so you're going to notice when you wash it, it's going to fray a little bit. But those sprays are nice and soft.
That's nice too, so there won't be any irritation on the skin.
None at all. You won't even feel it. So the closer you get it, the less of those sprays. Not sure if you can see it, but I'm trying to round the corners. I don't want points on my corners. I could just simply do a nice square. I like to round it so that those points. Okay, that's just a habit. I'm going to take a peek at the design. And it's looking great. Almost done. Do we have any more questions?
Things that we've gone over, the 45 degrees when we're stacking those two Easy Cut Performance. That's great. Sounds like your design is done. Can't wait to see.
Okay.
I think that tone on tone looks really nice, like you had said. It is classy.
I think it is classy too. So our aqua topping is similar to a backing where you're just going to tear it away. And it just simply goes along the edges. We're doing letters here that has some little points in them. And the the D, the A. Sticky tape there. You could simply go in. You got to be careful because you don't want to grab the fabric. But you could go in like that. Get your D, get your E. That one's not going so good. But eventually you can take your residual backing, wad it with a little ball, spray a little water here, spray a little water there, let it get gooey, and just like with your bubble gum,
oh, perfect.
Sit there and hawk it out.
Full of fun tips and tricks, Nancy.
Absolutely. So again, we have that tearaway, and it doesn't matter that it's white, because it's, for the most part, it's going to go away.
Yeah, that black performance wear backing looks really nice on the back of that.
It does. That actually gives a little more class as well. So that D is your biggest one. It comes right out. That one's out. So now you're mostly seeing black there. So
yeah,
that's
the
nice.
black bobbin.
People care about that. They care about what the back of the back of your embroidery looks like. You know, if it looks nice and clean, it looks a little nicer. And with this nice dark navy and the black backing, you're barely even going to see it.
Yeah.
It's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. These are nice quality products here, and that's something you want to consider when you're getting your blanks. If you're getting your blanks from a discount or on a discount, there's probably a reason for that. So, you know, maybe for a one-day event, using a lower quality product is okay, but when you're trying to get repeat business, try to stick with your quality. your quality blanks. And there we have a nice, salespeople are going to be very happy with
Oh
these.
yeah, look at that. And it was so quick and easy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, well, I think that's it. If we don't have any more questions to cover, we'll
Yeah.
say
Nancy.
goodbye. But if you're watching this after the fact, by all means, throw us some comments and questions, and then we love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all of this information. All of the products, the backing and the spray adhesive is available online at MadeiraUSA.com. And of course, you could call us to 800-225-3001. If you didn't hear my little intro, we are having a 4-part kind of introduction to these specific products. So today Nancy touched on performance wear. Over the next couple weeks, we're going to touch on a couple different kinds of fabric types. So stay tuned. Keep an eye out for next week's Facebook Live. Thank you guys, and we will see you next time.